2021 is here. I'm actually just waking up. I'm home alone, and I had to get to spend New Year's with friends last night. Love my family. I spend a lot of time with them when I really focus on them when we're together. And to be really whole and present when I'm with them, it requires that I get to have some time to myself. And I'm very grateful that I give this time to myself. And I will say that sometimes I met with resistance from within myself. You know, the guilt, I guess, or the rationale that runs through my mind on whether or not I should be allowed or can or willing to take a break for myself. And what I really see from it once I do it is how much it really helps me grow. So it's just that idea of, I guess sometimes when we work too hard and we need to have those vacations, that's when we kind of really reset, and I get that idea. But even now as a mom, even just the idea of taking a break from that archetype and how that plays out, and how, I do require a different set of skills and pathways with open within me that help me just, not that I change who I am, but I change a little bit my flow. I have a different flow when I'm with my family. And so I find the same thing happens when I'm with with anybody they work with. So I work with the tribe, my leaders and people as well, clients, and I'm just caught in a little of my own thought. I'm just thinking about the idea of how sometimes we can actually judge ourselves, like, oh, am I being my true self because I kind of wear a different face around different people? And as much as I get into my true self and really living as my true self and being my true self, I realize it's still fun in a sense to have a little bit of play and exploration, really, into the different types of energy that I can bring out within myself. And I like to value each one of those aspects. And so, let me to be clear here, it's not, like I said, changing anything about my core beliefs, changing anything about my boundaries and my fun parts about myself. My spunk, my fire is still there. But what I find is that around different groups of people, and even especially around nobody, like when I'm really by myself, I do notice that my thought processes are different. My mannerisms change a little bit. And I actually kind of enjoy it. So I know sometimes we can think like we're fighting this idea of we're not allowed to be inauthentic. And I sometimes question what is inauthentic? If it's coming from me and I'm doing it, then isn't that authentic? Isn't it in a form of an expression, regardless of what context I used it? Because look at our language. I got a word in the English language or other languages, I don't know, but can have multiple meanings. And, just to go with that concept, so can the way that I act and the way that I present myself can have different meanings. And I think really that's the best part about my experience. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I just felt really expressive in this moment when I woke up. And it was like my morning pondering of, as I was sitting here reflecting, I'm writing a reflection post to share on the tribe about my intentions, my reflections and intentions on shifting into a new year. And so I guess I just felt creative to jump on here and really just understand what that flow of ideas was coming out, because this is, I guess, me expressing who I am when I'm all by myself. Because I guess that part of me that nobody gets to see when I'm by myself is pretty special. And not that she doesn't come out when others are around, but sometimes she's just reserved for the right ones. The right ones you get to see. And maybe sometimes I don't want to always let her out. Because like I said, I like to... I don't know. I just like to play with different forms of expression. Is what I'm going to call it. So I hope that made some sense. Resonated. And I mean, just to carry into an idea of a new year, because that is kind of where this all started for me to make this video, is kind of an intention I set last night when we were all talking about them, in our new year, and just listening to everybody and resonating with everything that they said. And because in those moments, as I listened to them, I was with them, I was connected, and so I took on a little bit of their intentions as I listened. And then I recognized that when I got to myself, I wanted to just say, I'm here with you and I have all your intentions. And really my intention was not to have any set big ones, except to just live in each moment and live from that place and make each decision from that place. And I felt like I'm more in flow that way. Like I get this idea of manifesting and holding the intention, the idea, and that is for me, yes, I still live from that place. And for me, it's kind of like, I like to play out alternate options, like things that I think might happen and live from those places. Like that's how I manifest. And in reality, well, I'm going to slow myself down because this is so fun just to express myself, that I'm being my true self in realizing the steps you get from one thought process to a next and being okay with that. So being okay with right now, all I'm doing is expressing myself, and sometimes it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be edited. It doesn't have to have that full flow. Because when I allow myself to just go with it, that's when sometimes I end up on these really cool thought processes that end up going, wow. Anyways, when I reflected on 2021 and what I wanted to do, and it was true, like, I've had this resistance to the past, to just being okay with whatever happens. Like manifesting the idea and the feelings that I want to have, and knowing I am fully capable of projecting or, encouraging specific things to happen. So I rest in the peace that I have that power. But I get more intrigued by holding the idea that I'm always protected and I have good intentions and I know good things will happen, and that if something is perceived as not being a good thing, that it might be like the biggest gift hidden in surprise. Like, so although like whatever I'm going through, I could be wanting to fight it so badly and try to control it, that I get to that point of respecting whatever it is, respecting that it is present, regardless of what it is, regardless of how it wants to be. It's like almost like a child having a tantrum. To go off for me to understand that sometimes you just have to fully accept that child in its tantrum. And just say, I see you. I've been there. And I know. And just be like water. Like Bruce Lee kind of says that. Be like water. I don't know. I just imagine that whatever I'm facing at that moment, I could just kind of stand there and just flow around all of the rough edges and not be like a stick floating in water and it bumps up against everything along its way. So my intention again for 2021 was to live more like that, to live more like water. And so wasn't notice in that moment, but that's, I guess, where this whole symbolic idea has been coming to me lately with signs and synchronicities, that's just that place that I'm living at now after feeling like 2020 was clearing out the closets. Let's get it out. All of it. I had that flashlight just shining on every little dark shadow I had. And now I lit the map wide open and I could see everything about myself. And I'm perfectly happy, even with the little spots of mold that are still clearing themselves up. Like I just almost like my messy house with my kids. I mean, I can be upset about a messy house, but I would be upset all the time because, let's be honest, with kids, it's gonna happen. So I've gotten to this place of like, okay, let's just let it be messy. And when I really feel like it, I'm gonna clean it and feel good about it and like say that's a gift to myself. But other times it's a gift to myself to just let it be. So that's a whole other story. So anyways, I guess my message is just to try to say that the biggest golden nugget I took from 2020 is that as much as you're going to try to fight any of your experiences, the fighting is what creates more of it. And the more you can just allow absolutely everything about yourself, about another person, and love it, love it, love it. Like imagine whatever your darkness is this ugly creature of some sort, but then put a big fucking bow on it and dress it up in a little cute outfit and just spray with a bunch of perfume that you like and just hug the shit out of it. Love that little piece of crap, like the darkest parts of yourself need the most love, and just say, I love you for being there. I love you for everything that you are and everything that you've brought to me, and just cuddle right into it. And yes, yes. Anyways, that's when magic starts to happen. Right, Marley? Yeah, Marley agrees. That when you really accept that each time you're faced with something, it's a way for you to view all the different options. Good over here, bad over here, all the stuff in the middle. Like imagine a big clock, like, all the different speeds you have, or all the different degrees on a thermometer. That's what I like to look at it. Get rid of the idea of bad and good. Let's call it black and white. And you can look at things from here. It's a little white, a little gray, a little black, really black, can't see. So all these different perceptions. And I can choose absolutely any one of those perceptions. And my human existence has led me to go more on this black path of entertaining the negative and being prepared, fight or flight, I got to be prepared. But then sometimes it forgets that this is also a path, and I should embrace that path as well. So prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Find that way to come out in the middle. And living from that perspective for me now, when I take that moment to step back from reaction and more into responding. It's like Neo in the Matrix when he slows down what's coming at him. But imagine like I'm slowing down my thought processes. Slowing down my thought processes enough that I can see I have a couple different options of the way I can perceive what's going on. Like, let's say one of my kids is having a moment. I can perceive that moment as, I did something wrong. My kid is being selfish. This is not fair. Why now? Or I can look at it as, this is necessary. This is a time for connection. This is a time to slow down. This is a time for more love. And, really just saying what is alive. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. Sometimes it might be, a little bit of an act or charade. But even that has its purpose, right? So, honestly, I just find that it's almost like anytime I'm met with resistance, I can just imagine that it's my check indicator light on my car, and it's just a time for me to investigate to see what's wrong. And as of late, sometimes the indicator lights or something goes on with my cars and I go get them checked out, and it's minor. But you never know when you go to the mechanic, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like it's worse than the waiting room at the doctor for some type of prognosis, because you're waiting at the mechanics for them to tell you how much your vehicle is going to cost. Anyways, I think that's purposeful. I mean, I've been talking for 18 minutes, but this felt so good. It's just like, that's what I want to express in the world. And if you stuck around to listen to it all, then kudos. I hope you get something from it. If not, it's just for myself. I respect it that sometimes it doesn't really matter who it's for, as long as I feel good while I'm doing it. And yes, making sure that I help myself and help others in the process. So anyways, I truly hope that whatever 2020 was and brought to you was everything that you needed. And if whatever you're looking for and require in 2021 is perfect for you. So, we're all on a different part in our path and journey. And the only reason why people express themselves to begin with is firstly for themselves, and secondly for showing others that we're all doing our own thing, that sometimes it just requires us to humble ourselves and be okay with some deep work. So anyways, Happy New Year. Ciao.